Welcome, folks, to another episode of the Big Red Roundtable, where Scott and I from Generation Red are hanging out with our buddies from the Cuz Cast, Justin, Derrick, and Tyler. And tonight, we will do our best to figure out who might be a black shirt, who might not be. But either way, we're going to have fun doing it because we're all probably going to be completely wrong when it's all said and done. Because it seems like about every other day, there's a new guy showing up in the transfer portal, and then he commits to Nebraska. So, as Stephon Wynn did today from Alabama. So we got two guys from Alabama in the last few days, and we'll see if either one of those guys happen to show up in our Too Deep tonight. So, guys, it's been a couple of months since we've hung out on StreamYard. How have y'all been?
Great, Ken. Scott, how have you guys been?
Can't complain. Can't complain. I'm not wearing glasses anymore, so
That's
life's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are spitting out a lot of content, too.
Yeah, well, it's the same content we did before. The only difference is I just used a video editor to chop it all down into segments and then just throw it back up there on YouTube. I've got stuff scheduled to go up to YouTube all the way through June 24th. So there's plenty of content coming out that's old, but at least shorter and easier bits for people to swallow if they want to. So, everything's been good for us. We just went and saw the Day by Day documentary in Lincoln back last weekend, Scott? Last Friday?
It's been last weekend
with Honky from the Go Big Red cast, and it was a heck of a lot of fun to watch and listen to the players tell their stories of how all that happened. You know, they spent the first hour of the show kind of getting you up to speed to how they got to 1994, and then that last hour of the documentary was all about the 94 season, and it got pretty intense when every time you saw Brooke Behringer up on the screen and things like that. It was kind of hard to see, but at the same time, it was really good to relive those memories for me. So I'd highly encourage any of you guys, if it happens to be anywhere near your area somewhere in the near future, go get a ticket, go see it. It's absolutely worthwhile.
I'd love to see it. I don't think it's coming to Waco.
Probably not. No. Probably not, but I have a feeling. I was listening to the Doc Talk podcast from this last week, and they were talking to Josh Davis, who was a running back at NU that was kind of the guy that spearheaded doing the documentary. And he said the plan is to get it out to some network at some point where it would be available for folks to either stream or maybe BTN. I don't know. But he said the problem is they're running into his networks wanting to creatively change the documentary to fit their quote unquote criteria for what a documentary needs to be. In other words, they want to editorialize, and Josh Davis is like, no, this isn't an editorial about the 90s teams. This was just what happened, period. So should be fun. I'm hoping that the next one will be out in the next year, where they cover the last 3 years of that Osborne dynasty. So that should be a lot of fun. Anyway, tonight, the whole point of tonight is to just have some fun. We've only got one topic tonight, and that is black shirts, and even, see who the guys are that are going to sit behind the black shirts this year. At least the guys we think might be in those spots, and who knows, as I said at the beginning, could be completely wrong, but it's going to be fun to speculate. And for those of you who are watching, all one of you, we're not going to worry about figuring out who's going to play in a 3-4, who's going to play in a 4-3, all that good stuff. We're pretty much focusing in on a 4-man front because it seems like that's the direction Shenander wants to go with this defense, especially with the size of the guys that have come in via the transfer portal, being guys that aren't exactly those giant 320, 330-pound run stuffers in the middle like he likes to run that 3-4. So we'll start right out of the gate with the defensive line. So, Justin, I'm going to start with you. Who do you have as your defensive ends in that 4-man front?
Dang it, you would have to start with me here. So we'll get the easy one out of the way. It's Garrett Nelson. Garrett Nelson, that's the easy one. The other one, man, I keep going back and forth on this. Is it going to be Caleb Tanner? Or is it going to be O'Shawn Mathis? I think there's going to be packages for each of them. I'm going to give the edge to Caleb Tanner right now. I think if we were to, line up against Northwestern tomorrow, I would probably put Caleb Tanner because he's familiar with the defense. He knows what Shenander wants to run.
Right.
But your Mathis isn't going to be a backup. He's not going to be a Kevin Williams type backup. I mean, he's going to be involved. But give me Caleb Tanner right now.
All right.
So somebody call Mars NASA because somebody came over and took over Justin's body.
What do you mean by that, Derrick?
We've had this argument for since O'Shawn Mathis committed here, since before he committed here, and there was no shot that Caleb Tanner had to start. So I'm blown away that he just chose Caleb Tanner to start.
Yeah, Justin's been really on the Mathis. Of course he's starting.
So, okay, when I sat down to do this little exercise here about the depth chart. Finding where O'Shawn Mathis really fits into this, where he fits into this defense is tough because Caleb Tanner, I mean, are you going to sit him? He has the most experience in the defense, as I said. The playmaking ability of Mathis is extraordinary, but you know what? Caleb Tanner might have the edge to start game one. Maybe that changes down the road, but game one, Caleb Tanner.
All righty. Why don't you go ahead, Scott? Who do you think is going to be the two defensive ends?
Like Justin said, I do think number one right out the bat is Garrett Nelson. Dude is just a freak, man. Like I was so nervous today when I was at Shields and Garrett Nelson was actually there. And I did not go up to him because I was stuffing my face with a grilled cheese at their little market that they have there. And I was like, that's Garrett freaking Nelson. Holy fucking shit. Sorry, but
all right. Hold up. Before you go any further.
Yep.
Yeah, that's going to happen, guys. If you drop an F-bomb or, an S-bomb, yeah, party foul. But I don't need to tell you all to take a drink. You just do that anyway.
Hey, I want to tell you guys something right now. This is not orange juice that I'm drinking, okay? I know this looks kind of weird. This is something I don't drink. Okay, but this is called a Black-Eyed Susan. They drink these during Preakness. It has 1 part vodka, 1 part bourbon, 2 parts sweet and sour mix, and 2 parts orange juice.
And all the part douchebag.
Oh my God, they are so delicious. They are really good.
Douchebag.
But
well, that's what you were doing in the bathroom before we started. You were squeezing one of those out.
Just a little horse piss.
So let me tell you, it's called a Black-Eyed Susan, but they really need to call it a Blackout Susan because I drank some of these and oh my God, my night was over early last night. They're really good. So
sounds
drink
yummy.
Responsibly with these.
Well,
yeah. So, okay. But with Garrett Nelson, I could not believe that it was him at first because he was absolutely monstrous. Like he was huge. Like I almost didn't believe it was him, but then he walked back around and was with another dude who was taller than him. I want to say it was Nash Hutmacher because just because of how freaking big that dude was. But he didn't have a beard. And as far as I've seen Nash, unless he got rid of his beard, I'm not 100% sure. But seeing the dude just looked, I was like, oh my God, this guy's huge. That was just a side note, but it was like, oh my God, what a freaking tank. Yeah, Garrett Nelson is number one on one of the sides. And then, yeah, I'm kind of stuck between O'Shawn Mathis and Caleb Tanner on the other side. I'm going to say, honestly, just because of the size and because I think if Caleb Tanner really is a team player, nothing would get him fired up more than to maybe piss him off a little bit and start O'Shawn instead of him, so he would compete a little bit more. That's just like my itching suspicion that O'Shawn will get the start, just because he's just insanely athletic. He has about 10 pounds, 15 pounds more on Caleb Tanner. And we're going right into Dublin with Northwestern and having that's, I mean, O'Shawn is as fast, if not a half a step quicker than Caleb Tanner is. And with that extra 10, 15 pounds, like, you can't not start the dude. That's just my logic behind it. Although that kind of tears me apart, because it's like, well, Caleb Tanner's put in his blood, his sweat, his tears. Like, he's really been here for the team. But at the same time, it's like, you got to put the best guy on the field. And I do think that if you were to compare O'Shawn and Caleb Tanner and what their rapport brings, I think O'Shawn has a little bit better of a resume.
Okay.
But we'll see.
All right. How about you, Derrick?
Well, I'm going to go strictly off of stats here. And I'm going to tell you right now, O'Shawn Mathis stats aren't that much better than Caleb Tanner's. And Caleb Tanner probably played, I don't know, a quarter less than what O'Shawn Mathis did. He wasn't a starter most games because JoJo Doman was in there for him. So, I mean, he had a lot of playing time, but he wasn't playing as much as O'Shawn Mathis was. And his stats are, I mean, they're a little bit less, but you expect that with less playing time. And so I think with that, and you're playing the Big 10 compared to the Big 12, and you're still putting up stats comparable to O'Shawn Mathis, I'm gonna lean towards Caleb Tanner just for right now, just because I don't know how O'Shawn Mathis is gonna equivalent to the Big 10. I don't know. Can he just jump over from Big 12 to Big 10 and be as effective? I don't know yet. As far as Garrett Nelson goes, yeah, there's no argument there. I think if you pull Garrett Nelson, you may have a code black on your hands. He scares me. Like, that guy, you don't mess with him. He's gonna go bat crap crazy, if you will.
Give me a reason to drink, Derrick. Just say it.
Bat shit crazy.
Thanks, bud.
There we go.
Yeah, take a drink, party foul.
So,
well, you don't have to take a drink, Justin. Derrick does, because he's the one that cursed, for God's sake.
Justin will drink every time everybody curses. So
no man left behind. Nobody
has to curse for Justin to drink.
But I'll say this, Scott, Justin, you're both right in the aspect that all three of these guys are going to be rotating in and out. You're going to see all three of these guys a ton. I think all three of them will have black shirts by the end of the day.
So do I, but not for the same reason. So I'm going to go, and you can follow me, Tyler. And then when you're done letting us know who your starters at defensive end are, Tyler, you can go ahead and let us know who you think the guys are that are going to be backing them up. Okay. And then we'll go back around and we'll talk about the guys behind them. For me, obviously, I'm right there with the rest of you. Garrett Nelson is an absolute number one at one end. And if he doesn't get a black shirt after being his fourth year, and he's had a black shirt since he was a true freshman, that would mean that somebody really stepped up, and I just don't see anybody out motoring Garrett Nelson. He knows this defense like the back of his hand. So for sure he's at one end. And I had gone back and forth between O'Shawn Mathis and, believe it or not Caleb Tanner. I have Jamari Butler as the other guy that I went back and forth with on O'Shawn Mathis as a starter. So I've got O'Shawn. I've got O'Shawn starting and Garrett Nelson starting on the other side. So my reasoning is simple. He's a little bit bigger than Caleb. Jamari's in that 245 range. O'Shawn's in that 255, 260 range last I looked. So I think he fits that ability to stop the run for the first two downs as well as be able to rush the passer. So O'Shawn's my starter at one end, Garrett's at the other end. And So I know Caleb Tanner's probably watching this right now. Or no, he's not, because now we have zero people. And that one person watching dropped off as soon as I said that Caleb wasn't even going to start or play defensive end. So maybe it was Caleb that was watching us. Who knows? But Tyler, why don't you go ahead? Who's your starters at defensive end?
Yeah, I Garrett Nelson, I think, is the best player on this team. He's obviously a starter, and I'm going to go Caleb Tanner. He's my other one.
Okay.
I Derrick and Justin kind of hit it. I think you guys all there. I actually, one of the takes I have, I don't know if you guys remember the year that the Giants won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The second time they ran a package called the NASCAR package. And I don't think this is going to be normal, but I think there'll be plenty of downs where you see all three of those guys and maybe a Butler or maybe, which will go to my other backups, or a Ty Robinson. I think you're going to see on 3rd and long, I think you might see some downs when you have a lot of the deep speed rushers on there. You won't have the blitz, and you'll be able to rush 4. My backups are Mathis. I didn't have him starting, and Blaine Gunnerson. And I have a dog barking, so I'll let I'll circle back on Blaine. Why I think he gets the odds over Butler.
Yep, I got you. You know what? I've got the same 2 backups as you do, Tyler. I've got Jamari Butler behind Mathis, and I've got Blaze Gunnerson backing up Garrett Nelson. How about you, Derrick? Who do you have for backups at defensive end?
It's hard to argue either one of those two. I would lean a little more towards Jamari Butler, but I think both those guys are going to get some playing time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think the main 3, I think those main 3 will be starting/rotating, and then I think you have 2 backups that kind of get a little bit of playing time, probably less.
Okay.
But Jamari Butler and Blaze Gunnerson, I think you'll see both of them. I can't imagine a scenario where they leave both those guys off the field.
See, Derrick, I tend to agree with you. I think you'll see a little bit of. I think the gap between Gunnerson and Butler is small.
Absolutely. But I will say I don't think you're going to see a ton of playing time from either one of them.
There's not enough snaps. It's not ability. It's not ability. It's just there's not enough snaps this year. But yeah, I think we're aligned there.
How about you, Scott? Who's your backups at defensive end?
Yeah. So it's weird. Like I said, it's a battle between Caleb Tanner and O'Shawn Mathis for one of those sides. And so I guess by default, because I picked Mathis, Tanner would be one of the backups. And I struggled to find information, and I didn't really have much time, but isn't Blaze Gunnerson still injured right now, like recovering from an injury?
I couldn't tell you for sure.
Okay.
I don't.
Are you thinking of Snodgrass?
I don't know what I was thinking. I could have swore that Gunnerson was injured going into spring or
I think
something like that.
He played in the spring game.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Then that changes. I had it up in the air because I was sitting there thinking, I was like, wasn't there like an injury with Gunnerson or something that kind of made him like a question mark? But I couldn't find any information about it. So I was like, well, I'll ask about it when we start recording to make my actual decision and see if one of you guys knew, which, yeah, I guess he's not injured most likely. So, yeah, I would have to pick Blaze Gunnerson just because he's a freaking big, tall, athletic guy. But I still think, yeah, Jamari Butler has as equal of a chance to be as much of a force on that defensive end side of things. If Blaze Gunnerson can fight for it, I'm sure he will get there because I mean his athleticism is just he has a really high ceiling in my opinion. So long as he can stay healthy. Yeah, so that's kind of what I got. Jamari Butler or Blaze Gunnerson. I honestly don't know between the two because I think Butler does have a really, really good athleticism to offer.
All right. Derrick, had you gone yet?
Yeah, I just went.
Okay, I couldn't remember. Justin, you're next then.
So my backups behind Garrett Nelson's Jamari Butler. One of the things about Jamari Butler to me was I did not realize he was as big as he is until the spring. I had no idea. But from all the reports out of the spring and what we saw out of the spring game, I think he's definitely going to be in the mix. I think he's going to get some meaningful snaps this year. Then on the other end, since I had Caleb Tanner starting, I mean, it's O'Shawn Mathis. But, I mean, to me, that's like a 1A, 1B over
Right.
on
Yeah.
the other side. So,
Fair.
yeah. And so when you guys talk about there's only so many snaps, yeah, I mean, I don't
Is
know.
it-
I mean,
Okay.
maybe I think you can probably see Blaze Gunnarsson there in, cleanup time. I don't know if he's going to get any meaningful snaps for action this year.
Is
Just
it
because there's too
possible?
many good guys.
Is it possible that first of all, I have Gunnarsson over Butler, but neither here nor there. Is it possible we see an or with Mathis and Tanner?
I think it's very likely.
Very,
with this
very
staff.
possible. That's what you're
The
going to
staff
see.
loves
Yeah.
the oars, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we are heading down that
Well,
place.
they love the oars in the public release of the depth charts, but I'm pretty sure there's not too many oars behind closed doors. Hey, I rhymed. What do you know? I think they know who the dude is going to be, but they just throw an oar out there to throw people for a loop, because that's always worked, right? Being
Yeah.
secretive, this staff
It's
being
completely
secretive
working
is
for them because they're
totally
completely surprising all
for
these
4
other
years
coaching
now.
staffs.
It has absolutely worked. So
Yeah.
Justin, go ahead, and why don't we jump to defensive tackle then, unless anybody has anything else to say about defensive end. Okay, cool. Justin, jump into defensive tackle. Who are your starters at those two spots?
So there's been a new development here with at defensive tackle right before we came on. Stephon Wynn from Alabama. He's now committed to Nebraska. So I actually have him penciled in here. I had to scratch out another name, but just for my starters, I have Ty Robinson, and I'm going with Devin Drew as my starters right now. And Ty Robinson, he's a known commodity. You know what you're getting out of him. Devin Drew, he's had a lot of experience at Texas Tech. He was the third best defensive lineman at Texas Tech. Him starting is not probably, I mean, I wouldn't bet a nickel on that he does start, but I would have him in there right now as the starter. But those are my two.
Drew and Robinson. All right. How about you, Scott?
Okay, so I think I figured out my little blunder there with the injury with Blaze Gunnarsson. For whatever reason, I think I got him and Thomas Fedoni mixed up. I know they're offense and defense, but I was thinking there's an Iowa guy who got injured and has been an injury-prone guy, and I was like, who was it? Who was it that I was thinking of that I got them mixed up somehow?
They both wear the same number too.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're both white guys.
it's like it shouldn't be something to get mixed up with, because they're like
have a lot in
offense and
common.
defense. But it was like I was like, why did I think he was injured? And then I find it just clicked to me. I was like, oh wait, it was the tight end room that I was thinking of. But no, so I've got just what Justin said. I've got Devin Drew and Ty Robinson as the two starters. The only reason why I picked Devin Drew is pretty much for the exact same reason Justin said. It's just because of the experience and the maturity that he brings. Yeah, I think he can offer a lot to us right away, so long as he has the football IQ of grasping the system immediately and being able to understand exactly what kind of schemes that Shenander's trying to do. I mean, you're on the defensive line. I mean, you're a headhunter, but there are some things that you kind of got to grasp within any system. So yeah, I've got Devin Drew and Ty Robinson.
Alrighty, Derrick.
I think Ty Robinson is the Garrett Nelson of the defensive tackles. I don't think there's a lot to argue there. I think he's the obvious starter, but I'm going to disagree with you guys on the Devin Drew thing. Like he hasn't been here for anything yet. I mean, we don't know what he brings to the table. I'm going to go with Nash Hutmacher. Like that guy was a big recruit, fucking strong guy. Oh, damn it.
Thank you.
All right.
Rip.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry. But he's a strong guy. He's a leader. He's a leader in the weight room. I like what the guy brings to the table. He's a little inexperienced. I get it, but I think he's got the strength and the size to do what a defensive lineman wants to do.
Okay. All right. Let's see who's. Oh, I'm next. I'm the same as Scott and Justin. I'm with Devin Drew at defensive tackle, along with Ty Robinson. Just simply moving to that four-man front, that 285 pounds that Drew brings to the table is some quickness and some strength and some speed. Played fairly well at Texas Tech, and Nash Hutmacher has at this point been fairly unproven commodity, and I'm not sure who else would back up Drew. So Drew's starting. Ty Robinson is definitely at the other defensive tackle spot. So how about you, Tyler?
Derrick and I are aligned. I mean, Ty Robinson, I think, Garrett Nelson is the guy this year. Ty Robinson is right there with Luke Reimer to me as the number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think that his value this year could not be more overstated.
Mm-hmm.
He might be the most valuable defensive player. Because if Garrett Nelson goes down, we got good depth at that other end. Man, Ty Robinson, that's scary if he goes down. I'm huge on him. And then Nash. I have a hard time believing that Drew or Wynn are going to come in and get the starting spot. I just think that is a tight turnaround.
Yeah.
With Mathis is a little bit different because he was a starter. He was a guy that was playing. I just think the late additions for both of them might keep them down. I also really do like Nash in the nose tackle spot. I don't know. I know we're not making this a 3-4 debate, but I think he could be playing that A gap. I think he'll do really well there. I think he can shift over in that 3-4 if we need to be in there and not have a major alignment. So I think he'll be the starter. My backups, since I'm going backups, are going to be Drew and Wynn. I think those two guys are definitely, while they're not going to be quite ready to start day one, I do think they're going to come in, especially when you're looking over those freshmen, Buckley, Weaver, and Black.
Right.
I like that class. I actually like that trio. I just think you're bringing in a couple guys that are probably a little bit ahead of them, and they take the spot. And in the case of Wynn, that's a big dude.
Yeah.
Again, he might be a nose tackle too. He might be a guy that could come in and take that 3-4 spot, middle of the field. He didn't play that at Alabama, but I mean, Alabama had him listed at 6'4", 307. Big dude. So yeah, I definitely think that those are the two guys that are going to come in and take that backup spot.
Tyler,
Alrighty.
Can I ask a question here?
Yeah.
So do you think the staff believes that Nash Hutmacher can be the starting defensive lineman? The reason I ask that, because we have a lot of bodies on defensive line. There's a lot of younger bodies, but there's a lot of bodies there. And so we went out and got 2 more defensive linemen out of the transfer portal. And Devin Drew and Wynn, right?
Stephon Wynn, yep.
So
we had to. We lost Jordan Riley and we lost Casey Rogers. We needed to replace some guys.
Yeah,
but you have a lot of young guys right there. If you think that Nash is going to be the starter, I think they went to hit up the portal because they were looking for a starter.
I mean, I think that if you look at this and you say, with the addition of Drew and Wynn, we have 9 scholarship interior linemen. Like, I know the debate of 4-3-3-4, but if you ever want to run a 3-4 again, you can't have 9 scholarship defensive linemen on your roster. I'm sorry. I mean, I take that back. You can't have 7 scholarship defensive linemen on your roster. You need to put in some bodies. So at that case, I mean, so now we're at 9. Like, that's a lot better. So I don't think this has anything to do with the faith of the guys in the room. I think it's just a pure numbers where they need the backfield guys. I think, and get the best. I mean,
I'm with Tyler. You needed to add some depth, and I don't know. I'm not buying it as a Stephon Wynn, who was a career backup at Alabama, is all of a sudden going to come in and take over a starting spot just because he played for Alabama.
Well, I don't think anybody had Wynn as their starter.
Nope, neither do I.
Oh, I get it, but you bring them up, and you think they went after some starters.
I think they went out to get guys to compete for stars, like Devin Drew.
Absolutely.
Some
They're
guys.
gonna push.
If you didn't go out to get guys to compete for starters,
I think
what the hell are you doing?
I think they went out and they found experienced depth, not just depth, but experienced depth. Are you going to feel comfortable with Ruquan Buckley or any of those other guys that haven't hardly played a down of college football jumping in if somebody like Ty Robinson or
All right, well,
Nash gets hurt or Drew or whatever?
Let's be fair. Stephon Wynn had 5 tackles last year.
Right.
Yeah, Wynn is fine, but Devin Drew, he would not have come to Nebraska if he did not know that he was going to have.
You were upset that we
primary
even
role.
got Devin Drew at one point. Like when we got him, you were like, "Really? This is a guy we got?" He wasn't even the best Texas Tech player.
Again,
and I pointed that out.
Justin, can I go back and say, like, if you asked a question about Nash, do I think the coaches are sitting there saying, "Yeah, Nash Hutmacher is going to be all conference this year"? I don't think they're sitting there saying that. I think that none of us are saying that at this point. I think we all acknowledge that our interior defensive line is among the weakness of our team. So to bring in more guys, like I'm not saying Drew can't get a starting spot. I'm not saying Wynn can't get a starting spot because it is a weak position. But I think that coming in, getting up to speed, I just don't think those two are quite transcendent enough to make up that ground.
Right.
More like a Mathis is. Mathis is that guy, but I don't know about those two.
Sure. Well, let's
Mathis is, but none of the Cuz cast we even had Mathis even starting.
I mean, that's semantics. I mean, again, if you ask me right now, who's going to have more sacks, Caleb Tanner or Mathis, I'd probably say Mathis. I think Mathis is going to get tons of snaps. Like if just because I have him number 2, like I think Caleb Tanner's probably a little bit better in the run. He's suited. He's a senior. He's been around. But call it 60-40. I mean, they're both going to play so much.
Yeah.
Well, I think
my NASCAR package, they're both going to come in and take the place of this other spot.
I think defensive line's in the same boat. Like they always like to rotate these defensive linemen anyway.
Oh yeah, they're going to need
to. I don't think by picking Nash Hutmacher and Ty Robinson that means we think they're going to play all game long. Devin Drew's probably going to play. And I don't know, maybe Stephon Wynn will too, because that's my 2 backups as well. But I also think Colton Feast can find his way onto the field.
I think he plays some too. My backups are Nash Hutmacher and Stephon Wynn at defensive tackle. But for me, I really struggled with naming Drew my starter at one spot because it was an and or for me between him and Hutmacher. It really was.
Yep.
Because I think the one thing about bringing Wynn and Drew in is not only is it building depth for our line, but it's also giving a little bit of motivation to these guys that really haven't seen a lot of playing time yet, like Nash, to step it up a notch. You know, you got a kid coming in from the SEC. Granted, he didn't play a lot at Alabama, but he got recruited there. That says something to me. So I'd say Wynn is a backup, but by the end of the year, he could be like O'Shawn Mathis. He could be a black shirt by the end of the year. I think O'Shawn gets one to begin with, but who knows? That might be what gets Caleb Tanner over the edge and gets him really playing well. So those are my backups, Hutmacher and Wynn. Who else? We've got.
I just have a question here.
Yeah.
How many had Feast as a backup before we got news about Wynn?
Feast was a backup before we got news about Wynn. Absolutely. He was on mine.
Tyler, no.
Well, so when I wrote this down, so I was prepped for last week and then I had to bail. So when we initially did this, I already had Wynn written down and I would have had to back him out. So I've kind of wrote him in because I thought for sure we were going to get him. But after that, the names that I wrote down that I was like, if I had a backfill, it was Buckley, Feast, and Weaver. And I was leaning towards Buckley. I'm big on that Buckley, but Feast could be in there. I mean, I wrote down 3 names, so I hadn't quite made that decision yet, but yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
All right. How about you, Derrick?
Yeah, I'm the one that brought Feast up. I already did this.
Yeah.
He had Wynn and
oh, that's right. You did mention that before I went. I'm sorry. Scott.
Yeah, I had before the commitment of Stephon Wynn, I had Nash Hutmacher and Colton Feist as my choices. Only because of, I guess, whatever I saw in the spring game, which was that there were a few times where it was like, wow, we're getting a good push on the defensive line. And then who gets up? Oh, it's Colton Feist or however you say it. But then there was Raekwon Buckley. He was also a good option. I mean, between Buckley, Feist, and Black, and then I guess we've got freshman Tagaloa and Mosai Newsome and Jalen Weaver. I mean, we've got, I guess, depth, but I think there's just such a huge drop off between Ty Robinson and Nash Hutmacher. Before we had the commitments, like let's just say Devin Drew and Stephon Wynn were not committed to the team at all in some different world. Like it would be a coin toss after those two guys, in my opinion. Like it would be like who you could plug any of the guys in and you're basically just taking a guessing game. Like, well, I think based on the size and blah, 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 but we've had plenty of guys that have had size in the past that didn't do diddly squat. We've had plenty of guys who have height in the past who didn't do diddly squat. So it's like, it's all just like a guessing game.
You're supposed to curse there, Scott. You're going to take a drink anyway.
Oh, Justin's finally done with his stupid orange drink.
We're gonna do it in Japanese.
Guide Susan is
do it in Japanese.
There you go. Gongpai. But yeah. So basically, where I'm getting at is that after those two guys, Hutmacher and Robinson, like before we had a Devin Drew or Stephon Wynn with just, I guess you could say talent and experience between those two commitments, like there really wasn't. It's kind of just like okay, you've got these guys, what are they going to actually do? I don't know. I have no freaking idea. Not a freaking clue.
That's why they went after Drew and Wynn. Yep.
Yeah, and so Devin, it's like, yeah, he's like got, what is it, like a butt ton of snaps that he's had experience in. And yeah, Stephon Wynn, he sat on the bench and didn't really do much for Alabama, but it's one of those things that it's like, yeah, but he was like a top 75 player out of high school in 2017, stayed with Alabama for I
was in my 30s back then.
It was like, for like 4 years. For 4 years, you don't just stay with Alabama for 4 years unless you want to just get your absolute crap knocked in day out, because they don't play around. They don't play around there. And the fact that he committed to them for 4 years tells me a lot about, well, I mean, he believed that whole time that he was going to be the next man up, and it just didn't pan out. So it's like, well, it's either he stayed there for 4 years.
Be that.
It's either he stayed there for 4 years because he's just dumb and could not read his cards right, or he stayed there for 4 years because he knew that he was just one step behind whoever was in front of him, and then was like, wait, I could take this national championship contending talent that I have, move it somewhere slightly different, and now I can get the playing time and the resume that I need in order to get into the NFL. And so that's the only reason why I've got Stephon Wynn as like number 2 at the very least. If not, I mean, dude's got size, he's got talent. He wasn't a top 100 recruit because for whatever reason, he's clearly got some hidden gem type skills, if you could even call a top 100 player a hidden gem. Maybe he fell off, maybe he's a bum, maybe he's all these things. I mean, you can make those judgment calls, but in my opinion, like I do think that it was one of those things that's like he could be a number 1 guy, to be honest. Like if Ty Robinson and Nash Hutmacher can't keep up with an insane amount of athleticism that somebody from Alabama can bring to a squad, like you better watch out. You better watch for your job, because somebody like that's going to take it.
All right. Justin, have you named your backups at defensive tackle yet? I
have Nash and Feast.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. I've Wynn in there also, I think.
Nash and Wynn. Gotcha.
Yeah. And Feast, yeah. 1A or 2A, 2B.
All right. Well, that's the defensive front. Let's take a look at the linebackers. I know we kind of have a little bit of a difference opinion here on the stream as to whether or not Nebraska is going to run a true 4-3 or they're going to run more of a 4-2-5. I have picked starters based on having some 4-3 packages as well as a 4-2-5 package with a JoJo type player also. But I've got 3 or 6 names for linebacker. I'll go ahead and start this one because I know I'm going to freak some people out because, as you know, as I said earlier, Caleb Tanner is not in my 2 deep anywhere on the defensive line. But he is my starter at will. 6'2", 225 pounds. He's about that will-sized linebacker back in the 90s that we used to have. Plenty of speed, plenty of ability to cover in space, plenty of ability to tackle. I've got Nick Henrich as my strong side linebacker, and then I've got Luke Reimer as my middle backer, my starter at middle. So am I crazy for putting Caleb Tanner standing up
It's
behind
like
the line
mad
of scrimmage?
scientist type of crazy.
That's my
Well,
NASCAR package.
That's
Right there. You basically. I don't know. I think that this is where the semantics come into play. Like what are we actually running? Like, if you want to label positions, I think that would be a very interesting 4-3 is to have that on there. I think we would. I hope teams wouldn't be throwing on us because that is a very slow defensive front.
It's slow-ish. I think Tanner plays better if he's not having to play heads up on an offensive tackle or a tight end. If he's got room to move and use the speed that he has, because he is pretty fast, I just think he works better as a weak side linebacker. But maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. How about you, Tyler? Who are your starting linebackers? I know you're more leaning toward the 4-2-5 side of things, right?
Well, yeah, I think we have 3 packages, right? I think we have my NASCAR package. I'm going to say that 100 times because I want Shenander to run it. I want to see.
And it's the All-Star race tonight.
So this is what Tyler's dream is. It's not like what Shenander's ever hinted at.
Oh my God! Of course he hasn't hinted. He's not tipping his cap. Imagine those pass rushers. We won't need a blitz. We'll have those 4 guys in there on a 3rd and 9, and we're just going to go. So I think that's one package. I think we're going to run some 3-4, and then I think we're going to run a 4-2-5. So my 2 linebackers inside are Reimers, Heinrich. I think they are as good a duo at the inside as there is in the Big Ten. I dare to say they are the best inside duo in the Big Ten. And I do this with no research besides trying to remember what happened last season. But my memory says that a lot of people graduated and they should be in that position to be the number. No, I do. I think they're great. And I don't want to, I could name 6 inside backers because I think we're really deep at that position. But I won't. I guess I'll wait till I'll come back around and name a couple more. But I don't see a true 4-3. I don't see us playing much in that. So I'm just going to stick there.
Alrighty. How about you, Derrick? What do you think? Who's your linebacker?
Well, I'll play your game and do the 4-3 because I do think there's a scenario where we could play it. And again, you got two linebackers. Nobody's going to argue. Henrich and Reimer. Nobody's going to argue those 2. It's just there's no argument to be made. So who's going to play that 3rd spot? Ultimately, I came down and I watched the spring game a few times, and the guy that impressed me the most that I wasn't expecting was Etiva Margaret Clements. However you say his name.
It's Ediva Malga Clements, if
there you
I
go.
remember
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
We'll let you say it then. Hey, I got him playing. The guy impressed me. He looked good playing in the spring game.
Mm-hmm.
If I gotta have a 3rd body out there for linebacker, I can't think of anybody better than him to put out there.
All right, Scott.
Yeah, I think we all are in agreement here that on strong or weak side, Sam or Will or whatever, Nick Heinrich and Luke Reimer, number 1 and number 2, hands down, every single time you get a chance to pick them and put them out there, I would pick them and put them out there, so long as they're not gassed or anything like that. But yeah, that number 3 spot's it's a hard one. I made my preseason bold prediction that I think that a person that we should that I'm going to be watching would be Randolph Kapai, but that's not going to be my starter by any stretch of the imagination. But I think that he's going to be fighting for a starting spot. And yes, Derrick, I completely agree. Margaret Clements just looked, he was all over the place. He was gunning everywhere. But I do think that probably that third guy that would be starting would just be based on experience. Don't know if I saw much from him from the spring game or really much from him. There was much to be desired last year, but Chris Kolarvik, I still think that he provides a good enough motor and an athleticism that would be much needed. And so I've got, Henrik, Kolarvik, Reimer. That's kind of the three guys that I've got with I like the way that you've put it, Justin. You've got 1A, 1B, and that B spot on any side, strong, weak, middle. You could have Margaret Clements, Kapai, Snodgrass if he gets healthy. It's kind of one of those. It's one of those positions that we have it's really deep in our linebacker position. So, but obviously 2 guys, Henrik and Reimer, they're going to be out there. So,
okay,
those are for sure.
Justin.
Reimer, Heinrich, those guys, you guys already said it. Those guys are locked in. That third linebacker, I am going to. I tend to think that we're going to be more of a 4-2-5 type of defense. 4-2-5/4-3. So the guy that I penciled in here is Isaac Gifford. I think Isaac Gifford, you've heard the coaches say a lot of great things about him. And I mean, I think when we line up against Northwestern in Dublin, that he is going to be one of the 3 linebackers out there in that 4-2-5. Well, I guess in that nickel, I guess you should say.
Sure.
Yeah.
But he's going to start against Northwestern when they take the field.
Really?
All right.
I think so.
So how about
I don't have any contention with that, honestly. Like that
depends
makes sense.
on
Science checks out.
Yeah, I mean, if Northwestern comes out in like a spread type formation like they tend to do on first down, I got no issue with that either. I think you could see Gifford. I think you could see Kolarvik because he's been practicing at that spot too. So, how about your backups, Justin? Who do you have in mind?
Before you move on, hold on.
Yeah.
The only argument I would have with that is I don't think you're going to see that against Northwestern. You maybe against a spread team like an Ohio State or maybe even a Michigan.
Doesn't Northwestern run a little bit of a spread?
Yeah, but I don't think their spread scares people as much. I think you're looking to get in Holinsky's face as much as you can, but more than try and put a guy in coverage more. I see him loading the box more with Northwestern than I would.
Yeah.
You don't think Gifford can do that?
He could, but I think you definitely want to drop him on coverage a lot more in yard blitz.
Yeah,
he's got more side-to-side speed than
all right
line penetration.
So your backups, Justin, who do you got?
Margaret Clements. Yeah, I was impressed with him in the spring game. I think he is going to be a guy that, if there's an injury out of Reimer or Heinrich, I think I would feel pretty good today knowing that Clements could come in and, there wouldn't be a significant drop off at that position. He's come a long way since he's been at Nebraska. Last year, he did well with the chances that he was given, but he wasn't given a lot of chances. But I think he took a huge step this spring, and it showed in the spring game from what my pea brain saw. I also have Garrett Snodgrass in there as the 4th backup.
Okay.
In there, and then at that nickel, I got Kolarvik also, and
gotcha.
Yeah, he's going to get some time. We've heard a lot about Javen Wright, battled injuries, and so apparently he's going to be put on medical scholarship this year. Is that right?
think I'd heard that too, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, so
That's breaking news to me.
I've seen it in the Twitter world, so it's got to be true, right?
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
because if he's on
The
medical
ever
scholarship,
reliable of Twitterverse.
Yeah.
well, if he's on medical scholarship this year, that doesn't count for the 85, right?
Correct.
Right.
That would
But it
be-
hasn't been announced. It's just the things I'm hearing
Speculation.
on Twitter is like
Well,
him
that
and
would fix
one
it.
other dude.
I am fascinated with this roster construction down to the final because we're over on scholarships. We're still recruiting. Like, what's going to happen? So that would be an answer. So anyway, but yeah, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. So
No,
breaking news by Justin.
No,
Not
you're
breaking.
good. You're
Breaking
good.
news.
Twitter broke it. I'm repeating it.
How about you, Derrick? Who do you have for your backups at the 2 or 3 spots or whatever the hell it was you picked earlier?
Well,
I'm having a hell of a time keeping track, guys. Don't mind me.
Garrett Snodgrass, I think, is an obvious backup. I've already got Clements playing, so after Snodgrass, it got a little shaky. But I heard a lot out of this Ernest Hausman all spring, so I'm gonna put him out there as a backup, and I'm gonna put Klarovic out there as a backup.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, I'm kind of similar with you. If we're running 3 linebackers, my backups are Garrett Snodgrass at strong side. I've got Chris Klarovic as a middle backup. And then I've got Margaret Clements or Ernest Hausman at the weak side. I couldn't decide between the two just because of what I saw from Hausman with the speed and the explosiveness that he showed in the spring game. It was pretty impressive. And I only imagine he's only going to get better coming out of fall camp. So I expect him to get some snaps this year. And then as far as the nickel spot, because you guys were talking about mostly 4-2-5, I've definitely got Isaac Gifford starting the year and in that JoJo spot. And then I've got Klarovic backing him up as well. So Klarovic could play middle backer in my scheme at backup if somebody like Reimer or Henrik gets hurt. Because I see Reimer being a guy that could play either strong side backer or middle backer in a 4-3 with his speed and his ability to tackle. So, and then Klarovic, obviously is that backup at nickel. So, let's see here.
I'm 100% in agreement with you on the nickel. Like it's Isaac Gifford's spot. I don't think anybody's going to take it from him. I know they've been playing Klarovic behind him, so I'll put him as the backup there too. But as long as Isaac Gifford stays healthy, I don't think you're going to see much of anybody else.
Wasn't that where Javen Wright was playing a lot this spring until he got hurt? Wasn't he playing a lot of that nickel spot too?
I don't think he played this.
I don't think he played this spring.
Maybe it was Butler then that I heard that was kind of
he
going back
he
and
was
forth
going
between
to be, Wright
and
was going
and
to be a nickel. Like
That's what
okay.
they moved.
Okay.
That's what they wanted to move him to last year, and that's what they were talking about, moving him out there to that spot. But
because there was a lot of talk. I mean, last year he was the guy behind JoJo until he got injured. Like he was that number 2 guy, and So my backers is honestly, I feel like I should only need to name one name, Clements. Yeah. I don't see us playing more than 3 backers. I do not see that world. I mean, it's shy of injuries. I don't see us rotating. Reimers and Henrik and Clements are 3 solid. The gap after those 3 is so large.
Yep.
Like I don't see. I like Snodgrass. And he's my 4th guy.
That's why I said that, Tyler. That's why I said Snodgrass is my 4th guy for that exact same reason.
Because it is. So I can see like 12 guys on the front playing. I can see a lot of rotation. Inside backer, you're 65 snaps a game. Like they're playing a lot of snaps. Clements is gonna get some snaps, but I don't see a lot. I know we kind of went to nickel. I actually a little bit different. I don't think Gifford is gonna start at nickel. It's close. I think Klarovic is going to start over Gifford. I think it mostly goes to, I think he might be a little bit better in run defense at this point. I'm really basing this. I mean, it's close. I think they'll both play a lot. I think that's going to be more of a team by team matchup. When we go nickel, I mean, I think it's going to be those teams that have 3 wide receivers and are going to line up. But like against a Northwestern, Like, I think Northwestern might have 3 wide receivers, but I still expect them to run the ball a lot. Against a Purdue, yeah, maybe you're going to have Gifford in there. But yeah, that's kind of how I think. I think it's really close between those two, and that's my separation factor.
I just want to add this about Kolarvik and the Gifford thing. I mean, I think it's going to be Gifford, the guy, right? I think his ceiling is so much higher than Kolarvik. I mean, Kolarvik, he's in his final year this year. And, I mean, by this point, he hasn't really panned out to anything. I mean, you got to play the guy that has a higher ceiling, and it's Isaac Gifford at this point.
I mean, I would say that Kolarvik got some snaps at inside backer last year.
He did.
I mean, he did get some of that. I'm not disagreeing with higher ceiling. I'll be honest, like this whole thought of the JoJo role, like the reason why we called the JoJo role this
was created for him.
It was because you had a special athlete in JoJo Domann. Like I am very apprehensive about putting an undersized like guy and think like, oh, he's going to be able to handle run protection. Like, and that's what I fear that we're going to do with Isaac Gifford. I'm fine with Isaac Gifford as a safety, but I have a little bit of apprehension if you're saying, yeah, you be one of my starters and go in there and tackle against Wisconsin. Like,
JoJo was that rare breed of athlete that could weigh 230, 235 pounds and cover a tight end or a slot receiver.
Yes,
fairly easily, and he could come up and defend the run.
Yes,
he was just very, very rare, and I think that's why I've got Gifford and Kolarvik kind of splitting that JoJo role because I think Kolarvik's going to be better against the run than Gifford, and I think Gifford's going to be better at covering the slot guy than Kolarvik ever would be. And maybe I'm selling both of them short. I don't know. But that's kind of where my thought process is on it. Scott, have you had a chance to let us know who your backups at linebacker are yet?
Negative.
Go ahead.
I'm pretty much right in the middle of where all you guys are at. Backups, I did. Yeah, Ernest Hausman looked really good, very athletic, still young, still has a lot of experience to I guess get under his belt, but I wouldn't necessarily put him as a immediate backup for any reason. Margaret Clements, dude, just looks awesome. Honestly, in my opinion, I think that Margaret Clements, his athleticism and his size is comparable to what I remember seeing from JoJo Domann. So he's actually my nickel backup to an Isaac Gifford. Yes. Because if we're talking about the fact that Domann was a special player because he had, he had decent size, pretty great speed, and just he had that vision. That vision was specifically what made JoJo an outstanding player. He was able to interpret plays. It's essentially instantly. That's what made it so great.
Because you made a bunch of noise, Justin. You got to take a drink.
Sorry,
Scott.
I was like,
step on you.
How are you going to
what?
punish me?
What did I do? But no, if there was anybody that I remember, which of course, anecdotal spring game, you really can't tell much from the spring game. When I was looking at Margaret Clements, he reminded me of a JoJo body type and he was making decisions instantly. He didn't stand for half a second and wait for something to develop. He was committing to his guy right away. And so, yeah, I guess my nickel spot would be between a Gifford and a Margaret Clements. But like I said, I kind of have this weird, bold prediction that Randolph Kapai is just going to just do something. I don't know why. I just have a feeling we're going to see him a lot this year, just as like a backup, a guy to go in when people are gassed out. Just because dude's athletic. Dude's big. He's athletic. He provides pretty quick speed. Dude out of South Dakota. And then, if Garrett Snodgrass can be healthy, if he can be healthy going into fall camp and not get injured again, re-injure something that would be very easy to do during a fall camp. Snodgrass would be a backup as well. I think it's great that we have so many names that we are having to name off and so many speculations, because it does truly mean that our linebacker group is deep and there's really not much separating the number 2 guys from each other.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. I'm just curious. Do you know, Scott, if Margaret Clements has actually practiced at that nickel spot at all?
No idea. But the only reason
Okay.
why I'm basing that off, like the only thing that I'm basing it off of is because if there was anybody that I saw during the spring game that reminded me of a JoJo Doman, just with where he was at in the field at any given time and how quick he would get there, Margaret Clements was all over the damn place. And that's exactly what JoJo Doman did for us. He was all over the damn place. And if Margaret Clements has that motor and has that tenacity to go freaking blow up his freaking his stamina, like he's going to test his stamina to the absolute max, play in, play out, like that's what we're looking for, right? I mean, that's why Isaac Gifford is in contention for that. I mean, another reason is that, I mean, Margaret Clements is essentially the exact same size as JoJo Doman. So you could plug him in at a true linebacker position, or you could put him in that nickel position, have somebody to back him up as a linebacker, but be able to do that JoJo shit. There we go.
Oh, there we go. Yep.
Take a drink.
Yep. There you go.
But that's my interpretation of it. Could be
You're
full of
so
shit.
totally gonna get Justin drunk tonight, Scott. I'm just saying.
It's gonna be the black-eyed Susan that got me there.
Does anybody else need to share their backups at linebacker? I think everybody's gone, haven't we?
We're good.
All right, we're good. So let's move on to the other somewhat questionable area of the field on defense, and the fact that we've added 7 guys now to the roster in the defensive back part of the defense since the end of the Iowa game last year. So we'll start off with safety. It doesn't matter, strong side rover. I have no idea what the hell that means myself. But we'll start with you, Derrick. Who do you have as your 2 starting safeties?
This was tough. I think one spot's fairly easy with Miles Farmer. The guy's got a lot of playing time.
Yep.
He started a few games when he had just kind of when we had some injuries back there. So he was kind of my go-to guy there. The other spot, man, it's so tough. I'm gonna go with Deshawn Singleton. I think that guy brings a lot of athleticism to the table. I think he was there for the spring. He got a chance to kind of get to know things. I didn't know who else to pick, I guess. So I went with Deshawn Singleton.
Alrighty. How about at the so that's your 2 spots then? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead, Scott? Who do you have at those 2 safety spots?
So I'm gonna keep following the trend of I'm gonna bust some toes here, but Kane Williams, I mean, dude is a freaking athlete. He's one of those guys that when he shows up, he's not just gonna sit back and let everybody else take a job from him. That's number 2 as a starter, like a rover type guy. But yeah, of course, Miles Farmer. He seems out of all of the guys that we've got in our safety room right now, Miles Farmer stands out the most to me. And then right behind, I guess, who Kane Williams is going to be fighting a spot for, or fighting for a spot from, is going to be like Derrick said. You got Deshawn Singleton or Noah Pola Gates. I think those 2 guys are right now, aside from Kane Williams committing, those 2 guys were probably fighting for that other starting spot. If Isaac Gifford isn't in that nickel type of spot. But I don't know, man. Like I have this weird, I'm going to piss off a lot of people by saying this, not just you guys, but Husker fans in general, that I hate to say it, but Alabama is what Nebraska used to be in the 90s. Like they have the it factor. They have the grit. They have the grain. They have the, you put up or shut up. We're going to beat you into the ground and we're going to make you earn your goddamn job. And there's no fun. You're not having fun. You're not here to be a big star. You're not going to sit here and run the table and make all this Twitter following and shit. Like we don't give a fuck you are going to earn your goddamn. You're gonna earn your goddamn.
I'm
your
just
stripes
gonna
here.
leave the banner up. I'm just
Yes.
gonna leave it up.
I
And
do
y'all
feel
just need
I
to
do
chug
feel
for the rest of the hour.
I do feel it's a little unfair because I think Scott's drinking iced tea.
Oh,
Yep.
absolutely he is, and I'm out of.
And-
I don't
I
even
think we
have
should
anything
just
to
chug
drink.
this beer,
I
guys.
feel like
Come on,
you
Scott,
old
keep it
cats.
going.
I feel like you old cats have never been to like a new age party because party foul taking a shot doesn't mean that everybody drinks. Like if that were the case, everybody would be taking shit on tables. You know,
Yeah.
like then everybody would be drinking.
What
you
kind
know,
of parties are you going to, Scott?
Party foul
Oh,
take a
us-
drink means the person who committed the foul has to take a drink, not everybody. I guess that would be my
yes,
guess.
that is
I mean,
that is the thing. If you make a party foul,
it's
you
like
have
the
to take a
hipster
drink.
version of playing quarters.
Yeah. So I get the
I
cheat
don't-
for myself.
I don't know
can
if
just
any-
sit here and
I don't
and
know if
say
anybody
all
watches
the-
this has figured this out, but the three of us are not hipsters.
No.
Nobody will ever confuse the Cuz Cast for being hipsters.
Oh hell no.
Oh,
No,
Tyler
no.
feels like
That's funny.
offended by that. He's like, I'm a hipster.
He is a millennial.
Well, he's definitely got millennial tendencies, no doubt about that. I mean, he still
Us
loves
damn
Martinez.
millennials. No, so let me finish here. It's like, so somebody coming from Alabama is either going to have that mindset, or on the flip side, to give what most Husker fans and I guess most college football fans think, if you're leaving Alabama, it means you can't hang. It means you are a degenerate. You can't, meet their expectations. So you're just going to
stay at Alabama if you're a degenerate. That's at least what I understand.
And so, like, when I think of a high 4-star recruit leaving Alabama, and looking for their talents to go elsewhere, especially if you're a top 200 player like Kane Williams was in 2020, or I guess for the 2021 class, he committed in 2020. I mean, he showed up. It very well could have been. He showed up and was like, yeah, this ain't for me. I'm going to go play for Nebraska. Or he showed up and was like, you know what? I could grind it out for the next 3 years, or I can go to Nebraska where they're probably going to have the same expectations from me. And maybe that's why he committed. It's because he's like, oh, okay. So it's an Alabama mindset at Nebraska right now, but I can start. I want to go through the grit and the grind, and I want to get my ass kicked day in, day out, but I can start. So that's, I guess, my thought process of why I would pick Kane Williams as probably a starter right away. Like, I think he's going to start right away just because he has too much talent to sit on the bench. And I know there's guys who've been here and they want to earn their chip. They want to do their things, but I mean, you put the best guy on the field. And if Kane Williams,
he's the best guy, yeah.
If Kane Williams is the best guy, I mean, look at his talent. The recruit talent scouts aren't giving him a high 4-star because they want to. He committed to Alabama out of
Tyreek
Louisiana.
Johnson's still sitting on the bench, and he was a 5-star coming from Ohio State. So who knows?
Yep,
I'll say this.
true.
I have a tendency to agree with you, Scott, to an extent. You don't just leave Alabama because you think you're right. You're right. The problem is the timing of it. You're coming in the summertime.
Yep.
I just don't know that you could take over a spot over 3 weeks of fall practice. I find it hard to believe that you can come in and do that with the guys that have been here at least one of them a lot longer. The other ones maybe at least a little longer.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I think the time that you've been here is going to play a little factor in that role.
Sure. Well,
And that could very well, that's, I'm honestly taking like a bold prediction. I guess that would be it. Like, it's a bold prediction.
You are doing that for sure.
Yes.
pretty bold
prediction.
for sure. Pretty bold. You never know. Absolutely never know. How about you, Tyler? Do you have any kind of bold things to throw at us, or
Well,
what do you think your safeties are going to be?
I mean, I do. I guess I got. Miles Farmer's going to be a starter. Yeah, Nothing much. Yeah, I think he's going to be good. I think he'll be on par to what we expected or what we had last year with Williams and Dismuke. I think there won't be much drop off in that spot. I think the other one's going to be a little bit tougher to fill. And I'm going to go Marcus Buford. He's the guy that I have getting that start. He moved over in the fall from that corner spot. He kind of bounced around. I think he's a really good athlete. I liked him out of high school. I think that there are 4 names for that second safety spot. The challenge here is this. Similar to how I thought, hey, there could be 10, 11 guys that play on that defensive front and outside backer, or defensive end, whatever you want to call it. Man, I don't think, even though there's not much of a drop off for that second safety spot, there isn't going to be many snaps to be had. And I don't want to tip my hat, but I think that this is going to get really dicey when you look at these backup safeties trying to get snaps on the field. But I'm going to go Marcus Buford, just edges it out. I think he gets that starting spot.
Alrighty. My 2 are Miles Farmer and Marquise Buford Jr. And I went back and forth so many times between those 2 guys and 2 other guys that I'll talk about here in a minute. But Buford got way too much press, if you will, too many coaches talking about what he was doing to not tell me that he's really made a huge jump. Miles Farmer's got the experience. I think he's going to – but you don't know. I mean, let's remember 1995, Terrell Farley was not the starting weak side linebacker at the beginning of the year, but 3 games in, he wasn't giving up that spot. So you never know. I got Farmer and Buford at the 2 safety spots. How about you, Justin?
So kind of like defensive tackle, defensive tackle is one of the weaker spots on defense. I think safety is the next weakest spot on defense. I have Miles Farmer penciled in as starter, and I also have Marquez Buford. But none of these guys and the guys behind them excite me very much at all. I think they're very weak for what a Shenander defense has been the last couple of years. It's a scary situation right there. I mean, Derrick.
I'm sorry, Justin. I had to listen to you for years talk about how bad Deontay Williams was. He was terrible. I mean, you thought he was the worst player that Nebraska's ever had. And now he is so you can't replace him. He's unreplaceable.
I'm glad Tyler said it.
Hey, but you know what? None of those guys beat out Williams, right?
Well, first
None
of all,
those guys beat out Williams.
Half of these guys are new.
Well, I mean,
Kane Williams is new. Buford was a freshman.
So Kane Williams, I mean, that's a great story, Scott. But I mean, that guy's not going to sniff a meaningful down this year. He's too new. He didn't do anything at Alabama to make you think that he's going to come in as like, okay, yeah, he's got a good recruiting pedigree right there, but there's been nothing. He needs to learn the defense. In time, I think he has a high upside, but it's not going to be in his first year. Not this early.
Deshawn Singleton's also new.
Singleton, yeah. I don't have Singleton in my top group either. I'm just saying that it's not an impressive group of safeties that we have right now. And I tell you what, Fisher, man, he's got his work cut out for him this year at safety and at quarterback. Safety mainly.
Did Travis Fisher just go from like our best coach to our worst coach?
No,
in 1 year,
I don't think so. I think he's our best coach. That's up for the challenge.
Well, he also had a lot of attrition on his roster because of all those Florida kids that decided to take off after COVID hit.
He's had a lot of misses. He's had a lot of misses recruiting.
So he's had some misses, and he's had some dudes that said, "I'm out of here."
And so my reason for the bold prediction with Kane Williams is the exact thing that you pointed out, is that we have a lot of questions that need to be answered and a lot of talent that needs to be filled with actual productivity. And if I am basing it off of, okay, who behind Miles Farmer has the highest ceiling and the most talent-filled skill set, if I were to look at everybody to include Marquise Buford, like Kane Williams is like number one. Like he has the highest talent like rating of all of those guys. So if he can, yeah, he could be a developmental guy. But where the bold prediction comes in is, can he grasp the system in 3 weeks? Not likely. But if it were to be, what is the roster looking like near the end of the season where we're getting into the last 4 games, I could definitely see Kane Williams taking that job just based on, let's kind of throw him in here, see how he does, see how his game sense is at the safety spot. I think
if Frost struggles this year, I think that could be true.
Yep.
When we're headed in 8 games in and, we're 4-4 or whatever it is. Yeah. Then maybe there's going to be some changes. I know this is going to blow it for a future episode, but I mean, talent overall, I don't think is as great on this team as it was last year. But
on defense or the team as a whole?
As a whole.
Okay. Well, let's see. So those are your starters at safety. Everybody is given
Buford
their starters, right? Buford and Farmer. Who are your backups there, Justin?
So Singleton, I think Singleton is that third guy. And then when it gets down to that fourth guy, I mean, you're just like picking at what's left, right? And it's Noah Pola-Gates. I haven't been impressed by Noah Pola-Gates since he's been here. I think just by the sheer fact that it's like there's nobody else there, I think he's going to be that fourth guy. But it's not a guy that I'm crazy about by no means.
Which in my mind, Justin, because I'm going to go next, which in my mind is exactly why Kane Williams is here. Because they haven't seen enough out of Pola-Gates yet to know that they can throw him out there on the field and make some difference. So I'm with you, and Deshawn Singleton being my third guy that's going to run out there is probably going to be Singleton. But my fourth guy, probably going to be Kane Williams.
Could be.
In spite of the inexperience, because I don't think Pola-Gates has shown enough that these coaches are confident that he can do what they need him to do outside of the starters. And you don't go for a kid like Kane Williams unless you think he's going to give you something better than what you already have in your room outside of the 2 guys you think are going to start. So I think Tyler might vehemently disagree with me.
Please
so
go to Tyler after this. Please go to Tyler.
Okay. So
go ahead, Tyler.
So this concept that is baffling that we're bringing in guys like Kane Williams that were high 4-star is a weird one to me. Let's take a step back. Why are we doing this? A very large reason why we are doing this is because we completely whiffed in our 2022 recruiting class. Like, we had an awful recruiting class and we had a ton of transfers. So I think you guys are reading like, oh my God, they got a really good recruit as a transfer. Well, who the hell do you want them to bring in? A shitty guy? Like, of course they're going to go after good recruits. Like, I mean, that's their answer of who you want them to go after. So, like, this concept that, like, well, they brought in Stephen Wynn. They have no faith in Nash Huntmaker. Or they brought in Kane Williams. They have no faith in Noah Pola-Gates. I just think that, like, they bring in guys because they want them to compete. Like, they're trying to bring in good talent. And so I don't think it's a guarantee they start.
Wynn and Williams are not even on the same page when you go after. Wynn was a graduate transfer, and Williams is like a freshman.
I get, but we had so many...
But they've had about the same amount of playing time.
That's fine. That's fine. But you have Williams, that is a developmental project that you can have him for several years. Again, is a one and done. He's one and done.
He's got 2 years left. Wynn's got 2
He has 2 years?
Yeah. He's got 2. COVID year, man. COVID year.
He's got 2.
That guy's going to be 37 when he graduates.
You get a year. You get a year. Everybody get years.
But I say that to say, like, I mean, they brought in Omar Brown. They brought in Tommy Hill. They brought in Singleton.
Mm-hmm.
Singleton I think was actually a JUCO, but I mean they brought in. There's another JUCO they brought in at corner. They brought in guys because they had so many people leave this secondary.
Javier Morton or whatever his name was.
Morton, and they completely whiffed in the recruiting class. So who my backups are? I got NPG and Kane Williams as my backups. I got Singleton being the guy odd man out. I'll be honest though. I think we're going to rotate a little bit more at safety than we have historically. But like, this is, I don't know. Is this, does Kane Williams, I have him fourth. I'm not convinced he sees the field. I mean, I'm not convinced he sees the field. It may be just a few snaps for NPG. Maybe we rotate a little bit more and Kane Williams gets playing time. But yeah, I think Singleton, I mean, it wouldn't shock me. I mean,
Okay.
The gap between 2 and 5 is so minimal. Like,
I have one question, Tyler. I don't mean to interrupt you, but
go ahead.
Is there a rule now that any hyphenated name in the defensive backfield, we have to refer to them by their initials? Because we did that shit with CTB. God dang it. No, I did it.
Thanks, Ken.
We did that with CTB. So now we're doing NPG. We didn't call him NPG until CTB left. I'm
That's
just
not
saying.
true. I've called no.
Well, I
The
didn't.
day he
So
got
it's all
there.
about me, dude. It's all about me.
Yeah.
We've called him
Got
NPG.
EMC, MPG, CTB,
EMC squared. Yeah.
CBD, THC.
No, Noah Polo Gates. Sorry, I got Noah Polo Gates. Yeah,
It's all good. It's all good. I was just messing. Wait
till we get to wide receivers. We got IGA.
Yeah,
the wide receivers.
yeah, we got IGA in there.
We got IGA. That's right. We got a grocery store catching passes now.
Venga.
Isaiah Garcia Contreras.
Yeah.
We don't like IGC, so we went with
Castaneda.
IGA.
So I think we got. Are you done, Tyler, or do you need to
I'm
say
done.
anything else?
I
All right.
got Noah Polo Gates and Kane Williams. Are my
I didn't mean to. I didn't mean
You're
to
fine.
derail you.
Does that mean we got to refer to Ativa Margaret Clements as
EMC.
EMC?
That's not
Yeah,
bad.
EMC.
Do you remember that band?
E equals MC
EMC?
squared. Yeah, EMC. No, because I like good music. But
It's like GNR.
GNR is good music.
I hope you bite your tongue and like half of it falls off while you're sleeping.
Who, me?
No, Tyler.
I'm just saying it was the initials.
You know,
It was like
don't-
the three.
don't ever
the-
talk-
I was gonna say,
It's
don't
the
let
three
talking to
initials.
me. You
Don't let
talking to
GNR
me?
pass your lips, Tyler, because you suck. At
I'm just saying they're at least in the top 200 rock bands of all time. At least in the top 200.
You mean
that's
Derrick,
why
who
you
are your
need
up
backups?
to Metallica, GNR? No, I'm kidding.
my
Go.
my
Scott-
backups. Oh,
Oh
go
yeah,
ahead,
yeah.
Scott.
Go ahead, Derek.
Whatever.
Go ahead,
All
Derek.
right. My backups are Marquise Buford and Noah Polo Gates. I think Kane Williams doesn't have the experience. He's got the talent. I think he could come in and kind of make a name for himself. I just don't think it's this year.
All right. How about you, Scott?
Yeah, I've got Marquise Buford, and it's like a coin toss between Pola Gates and Singleton. You know, to be, you know, like to point out my own flaw in my logic is that, well, you know, Kane Williams, high talent, blah. So is Noah Pola Gates. Technically, well, actually, literally, Pola Gates is a higher rated recruit out of high school than Kane Williams is, and he hasn't done much of anything for us up to this point. Yeah, so there is at least one pointed out flaw in my logic, but yeah, I've got if I were to do a 3 and a 4, it would probably be Buford as number 3, Singleton as number 4, and Pola Gates as 4A or 4B between those two guys. Yeah.
All righty. Sounds good. I'd say
But
Derek,
one thing I want to point out.
Derek's prostate's getting the best of him right about now. Go ahead, Tyler.
One thing that I wanted to point out is like, so Justin likes to go to this, like these defensive backs, they haven't played. Like Noah Pola Gates, he hasn't seen the field yet. Travis Fisher does not rotate defensive backs. His
Not
lack
much.
of rotation is, so I do not read into it that these guys are bums. I don't read into it these guys are not ready to step into the role. Like, I just think that he had 2 good safeties, probably not great safeties, but 2 good safeties. So yes, I'm not expecting Noah Pola Gates or these guys to just step in inherently, but I think it's just like, well, they didn't play before. Why are they going to play now? I think that's a really bad argument when it comes to secondary.
Okay. Gotcha.
Tyler's an
I got you.
MPG
That's fair.
apologist.
I really do like
MPG.
Noah Pola Gates. I really like Noah Pola Gates.
He likes his mom. Let's get
His
let's
mom
get it
is a
straight.
saint.
He likes his mom.
She's a sweetheart. She is a sweetheart.
He's
Does she look anywhere as good as Aiden Hutchinson's mom? I'm just asking because it seems like Jeffrey the Greek was pretty enamored with her.
giggity.
Anyway, I think we've finally gotten to the cornerback position. And let me just say this, and I think I might be jinxing the stream by saying this. We have a really good freaking chance of having this be the shortest Big Red Roundtable we've done yet. So don't screw around, guys. Let's just deal with the cornerbacks and get out of here. I'm kidding. I'm going to start this one off just because for my money, I think somebody, I can't remember who it said. Was it you, Justin, that said you thought behind the defensive line interior that the safeties was the weakest position on the field?
Yep.
For me, outside of Quentin Newsome, I'm not sure what the hell to expect at cornerback as far as production. I'm really not sure because we don't really have anybody else with actionable experience besides Quentin Newsome at corner. Braxton Clark played in a couple of games, yeah, and he did fairly well. But as far as I'm concerned, our two starting cornerbacks are going to be Quentin Newsome, obviously, and Tommy Hill, even though Anthony Grant made him look really, really slow in the spring game in that one touchdown run. Because
He'll
I think
never let
Tommy,
that down either.
no, he won't, because I think
No,
Tommy thought he
no.
was down in the backfield, so he wasn't finishing his pursuit like he should have. But yeah, Tommy Hill, Quentin Newsome, those are my two starters. How about you, Tyler? We'll start with you.
I like it. I like your pick, Tommy Hill. I I'm wrong a lot, but I feel like of the cousins, I was the earliest on Tommy Hill.
Yeah, you were. I was big on Omar Brown, and then he got hurt, so I'm all about
so
Tommy now.
I have been on Tommy Hill. I'm huge on him. I still am. I think him and Quentin Newsome. So Ken, you said that the DBs you're really worried about, and I will say this: Quentin Newsome got better as the season went on. I really enjoyed what he did as the season kept going. Cam Taylor-Britt's going to be really hard to replace, but I don't think that means Tommy Hill or whoever gets that starting spot is going to be bad. So So is it a drop? I guess, but I think we're still going to be pretty darn good in that secondary.
We'll see.
But I think I like Tommy Hill. I think he was a huge recruit coming out of high school. We whiffed on. He learned from his mistakes, and he's going to come in and take that starting spot.
Alrighty. Scott, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I've got Quentin Newsome obviously as number one, and then I've got Tommy Hill as number two, simply because he showed up in December, and by the spring game he was starting on the field.
Yep.
He locked it down. So if he was able to do that just through a spring camp, imagine what he can do through a fall camp and learn from those mistakes, especially in front of a crowd of 50,000 people. And you've got, a big running back making you look like a ding dong. It's one of those things that I just think that he's going to probably use that as fuel to his fire.
Yep. All right. Justin, you go ahead.
I got Quentin Newsome and Tommy Hill. Now, I want to throw this out here. We're about at that stage right now. It's May 22nd right now. College football magazines are going to be coming out shortly, and I can't wait for that. But as we're perusing all these college football magazines, when they do like the conference Big Ten rankings at the position groups, I am not going to be shocked if Nebraska, when they Phil Steele or whoever, when they rank secondary, that we're 11th or even lower, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th in the conference. This is a position group here at quarterback that I'm not excited about either. I have a little bit more confidence in it than safety, but that's third on my list there for weakest position groups on the defense for sure. So, Quentin Newsome and Tommy Hill. We know what we're going to get out of Quentin Newsome. Tommy Hill, we're hopeful that he's going to be as good as advertised from Arizona State.
Let me ask you this.
Not a lot of evidence out there that he is. But
I won't ask this yet. I have a feeling Derrick's going to probably give us the same two guys. Are you the same as the rest of us there, Derrick? Or you have somebody else besides Tommy Hill?
I definitely agree with Tommy Hill. I think it's a bad. There's a battle for Omar Brown though. I think he could come in. Quentin Newsome. I don't know why you guys are so high on him. He has not impressed me at all. His one play in the spring game that everybody loves so much should have been pass interference.
Well,
don't nod, Tyler. He didn't turn his head around.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
There's no doubt that was a pass interference call that didn't get called.
I guess, Derek, I'm not basing my opinion on Quentin Newsome off the spring game. I'm basing it off what he did in the last half of the season, where I thought he
was our weak link of our secondary last year.
But I think the first half of the season
wasn't awful though.
I think
we
the
didn't
first half of
lose
the
by a
season
lot
he
of
was
people
really bad
because of him.
And if Omar Brown is anywhere near what people think he can be, I think he could beat him out.
Is he healthy finally?
That was going to be my question: is what was his injury and what was the extent of it?
He ended spring.
You never know. Like it sounded like he could have played in the spring game, but they didn't want him to be fair. I mean,
it sounds like he was ending spring on a healthy note.
All right,
good.
Good. Who are your backups then? Well, shit. Never mind. Oh crap! Now I've got to take a drink. Who are your backups then, Derek?
I would have Quentin Newsome and Braxton Clark.
Okay, and you, Tyler?
Omar Brown and Braxton Clark. I actually think I like Omar Brown a lot. I think he's clearly the third guy. I think Braxton Clark, kind of the Travis Fisher rule. He is not playing this year. He unless we're up big or an injury occurs, he is not seeing the field. And I think Omar Brown, any snaps that Tommy Hill and Quentin Newsome come off the field, he'll be the guy that comes in.
All right.
Or if we ever actually decide to run an actual nickel, I mean, then maybe things change. But we have yet to run an actual nickel in like 3 years. So
okay, Scott.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Scott. That was impressive, gotta say.
That was very prominent.
That was not a noise canceling microphone.
Clearly, it was obvious. Ladies and gentlemen,
if anybody wants to know who that was, just look who left.
He
had to go run and wipe.
Yeah. Live stream just took on a whole new meaning.
Oh God, that was brutal. Oh my goodness. Oh geez.
Real mature guys, real mature.
I can't help a good fart is a good fart, man. Like it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Oh, that was one of those where your pants stick to the chair, but your ass slips around inside your britches.
Wow. Justin really shit the bed on that one.
Yeah, we're straight into 7th grade, folks. Straight into 7th grade.
Okay.
I knew there was a reason we needed to hang out with you guys. It's because you totally mirror my sense of humor.
Just thinking about listening to the podcast.
A good chart will do that to any group.
Sounded like a soundboard. It was almost like a
he punched a button on his stream pad or some shit.
Hey, did you get that cleaned up all right?
We're still laughing, dude. Can't help it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He was just giving his opinion on the secondary.
And I would say you have to edit that out to save Justin Public's shame, but oh wait, we're live.
Hey, he threw those underwear away. Just
barking spiders.
And we still haven't lost our one viewer. So hey, that's a plus.
Did you guys hear that?
Dude, it was so loud. It was.
Did you guys hear it? Why do you think we're still laughing?
I didn't know. I didn't know.
We have had no transition. We've just been laughing about farts.
Okay, Scott, what are your secondary next two?
Braxton
Who are
Clark
your
and Omar
backups now
Brown.
that we know Justin was backed up for quite a
Anyway,
while?
what did you eat? What died inside of you recently? Were you hoarding a crowd of like miniature like elephants that just were following you to the bathroom?
It was time to trumpet.
Oh God, we're getting nips now. Yeah, Braxton Clark and Omar Brown. There you go, bud.
Cool. Who's next? I've completely lost track of where the fuck we are.
I know, but I feel better.
Like,
I
I
would
think
hope so.
I think Scott and I are the only two to give the backups yet.
I gave my backups.
I think
I
I,
had
did
Omar
too.
Brown and Braxton Clark.
Well, no, I didn't. I have Braxton Clark and Tyreek Johnson or my backup.
Oh,
I'm-
Tyreek Johnson's side.
Yep.
Tyreek
I got
Johnson,
Tyreek sneaking
wow.
in there,
There you go.
making a move.
Wait, who
making a
has
move.
Tyreek Johnson in there?
As a
Ken.
backup? Yeah,
No, who said that?
Ken.
me.
You did?
Me. I've got Caleb Tanner starting at will. I've got Tyreek Johnson backing up at corner. Come on, dude. I'm the one dude that's an outlier. Because I like to be an outlier, sort of. And then Derrick, I think you're the only one, right? That's left.
I gave mine.
Holy God.
I was the first one to give mine.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I
we
think
all pretty
Justin-
much have the same.
I think
ones.
Justin's the only one left.
Oh,
Oh,
my
well, that's
backups
right,
are Omar Brown and
You've
Braxton
been backed
Clark.
up for a while. We heard that.
Okay.
Go ahead. Your backups again were? I'm sorry.
That was my stool, by the way, guys.
Yeah, it was, and usually precluding to stool is gas.
Yeah.
That's my chair. I had to go check on my dog. That's why I had to leave.
Yeah.
Your miniature elephants running underneath your chair.
I've never
Come here
seen
and pull my
I've never-
finger.
I've never seen Justin so embarrassed by a fart before.
That was great.
Well,
He's-
you know what?
he's
Until I
usually
come
pretty
back to
proud
my
of 'em.
phone and I get messages talking about, I can't believe you did that on a live stream. I didn't know anybody could hear it. My microphone is up here.
Justin, you
That
leaned.
means it was a
You
really
did
good
this.
fart.
You pointed it. I saw you point it.
You
Away
made sure you
from
had
the
proper
microphone.
echo. Yeah, you had proper echo for sure.
Because you
No
had
doubt
some
about it.
serious like
Ken, can you
decibels
cut
to
all this
that.
fart talk out when you post it?
Oh,
This is 20
Absolutely
minutes
not.
of the
Where's the
live
damage
stream.
Nope.
done?
This
Nope.
is 20 minutes.
Nope.
Anyone who listens to this long
Sorry,
is
it's
gonna be like,
already
what
out in the
hell?
air. It's been
It will
aired
be
out
an
to the
entire
universe.
segment. Justin's fart and the aftermath will be an entire video segment. That might be the one YouTube video everybody fucking watches and gets
hey,
our video to YouTube.
just make
going.
that the title.
Yeah.
I think
Justin
you
shits
could go viral.
himself.
I think you go
Justin
viral.
shits himself. It's the
Back
title.
up and Waco.
He does it and immediately sprints off camera.
Yeah.
And you can see the look of like shock in his face. Like,
Justin, so excited about the Blackshirts, he shits himself on camera.
I had to pee so bad because this
You
is
shit
supposed to
yourself.
take an hour, and then all this, all this beer is like weighing on me.
and that orange juice.
And
Okay, let's get out of here.
right.
Oh
Hey,
goodness.
let me ask you a question, guys. So we already talked about the roster, right, for 2022. Do you see this as an improvement over the 2021 roster? Is it equal, better, worse, whatever?
Are we just talking defense here?
Well,
Just defense. Just defense.
Oh,
Can I go first?
that's a hard question.
Yes.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Tanner, go ahead.
Better. I think our defense will be noticeably better this fall than it was last year.
That's actually
Is it
bold.
better
than
That's,
personnel?
that's a bold take. That's a bold take.
And I think there's two things. One, last year's defense was good. I think the fact that our defense every year has gotten a little bit better, I think has kind of jaded fans about how good our defense really was last year. Like, I think people make it out to believe this was borderline classic Blackshirts, and it wasn't that. So I think that the defense last year is a little bit rated. But two, I legitimately think we have a chance to be a 40 sack team this year. And if you can be that type of pass rush, like I looked this up, the teams that had 40 sacks this year, they're all top 25 defenses. So
Right.
if I think we can have that type of pass rush, we're going to be better than the 40th best defense in the country. Now, granted, if our pass rush sucks, then that changes the skew. But I think our pass rush is going to be elite. And if you have something like that elite, like it changes. You can have a little worse secondary. You can have a little bit worse secondary if you have a really great pass rush.
If you've got 4 guys lining up front and you don't have to scheme up a blitz to get pressure on a quarterback, then I absolutely agree. Our defensive backs are not going to have near as much on their plate this year as they did last year. If O'Shawn Mathis can be as God dang it, if we could get 25, 30 more hurries on a quarterback this year.
Yeah, and if
that
only
makes
there was
a huge difference.
And if
right?
only there was a package already established that had 4 really good pass rushers going after the quarterback.
Is it named after a false sport, Tyler?
It a sport that is better than horse racing called NASCAR.
There's no such thing.
Justin, I'll answer your question with I'll be a little bit different here. I must say equal. I don't think they take a step back necessarily. I think there's some inexperience on this team that will stop it from taking a step forward. Talent-wise, I think they're there. I just think there's a little bit of inexperience that will cause us some problems.
I think they can get better, but I think starting off the year, I think we're almost in trouble. Fortunately, our easiest games are in the first half of the season. Fortunately, right? But I think it's going to take some time for some of these guys to gel together and start to look like a Shenander defense.
Yeah.
But I worry. I mean, that was not.
Here's what I'll say. Me
talking about defensive tackles, safeties, and cornerbacks being weak links on the defensive side.
Do I think this defense right now is better than 2021? As a defense playing together, frick, we don't know yet. Talent level overall, yeah. This defense has more talent than we had in 2021. No doubt in my mind. Is it going to translate on the field? That's the question. That's the question that Shenander has to answer. And if there's anybody that I believe on this coaching staff that can figure out how to make those pieces work together, it's Eric Shenander. And none of us thought that was true 4.5, 5 years ago. So I feel pretty good about it. And gosh, guys.
Well, I was going to say that
Go ahead.
So to answer Tyler's question, I think potential. Do we have the potential to be a way better, or just even a markedly better defense than last year? Absolutely. We have a lot of potential to have a defense that we haven't seen in a very, very, very long time. But it very much so depends on, can Mathis be what we want him to be? Is Drew going to contribute? Is Wynn going to contribute? Is Kane Williams going to be worth anything? Is Tommy Hill actually going to show up? Is Tyreek Johnson going to be a 5-star talent on a 5-star performance on a field? Can Noah Pola Gates actually, reach his potential? We have a ton of potential to be a really, really good defense if the talent can translate on the field game in, game out. But if I were to exclude all of those exceptions, if Kane Williams and all of those guys that I named off, if they don't actually pan out, we definitely take a step back as a defense. If we have all these guys that we're plugging in from the transfer portal and they don't play out, we will take a step back as a defense for sure.
I will agree with Tyler in this aspect. To sit here and talk about the 2021 defense being what they were. I mean, they were a good defense. They were better than I think people wanted or expected. It is what it is. They were a number 50 defense. So can this defense be a top 50 defense? I mean, I think it's possible. Absolutely. I think the talent level alone could get you in a top 50 defense. I just, with the inexperience, I struggle to think that it becomes what he says as a top 25 defense. So I don't think that happens. But
especially when you're replacing that many super seniors that came back to make this defense as good as what they were.
But I'm not expecting. But can they get to a top 50 defense? I think they can.
I think last year, I think that we weren't.
When we finished
statistically
in the 30s last year,
statistically we were a top 50 defense. But I think if you think about the context of what made them a 50th ranked defense is if you have the offense putting the defense in better positions and not giving away the ball inside of their own side of the field, and our special teams doesn't absolutely jack shit up all the dang time. I think our defensive stats look way better because they were constantly playing on their heels last year.
Yeah,
and so I really think that our defense statistically does not do an actual service towards how damn good our defense was last year. If our offense and our special teams gave the defense a way better field to work with, I think our defense would have been a top 30 defense, like just based on how talented they were and how they hung into every single game and played with, an Ohio State, Michigan, Iowa, Wisconsin. They were doing great things against those teams, but they weren't helped out by our offense or our special teams at all. It was actually a net negative for them on almost every given circumstance.
Statistically, our offense was like a top 30 offense. So
statistically, but not in scoring.
You can look at the statistics and just look at them on an individual.
You can talk about scoring, that's fine, but you talk about the offense putting them in such a bad place all the time. The offense wasn't putting them in that bad a place all the time. Hell, they were moving the ball over the field.
And I don't think they turned the ball over a lot last year.
Well,
not like they did in years past.
Right.
No.
To your point, Derrick. To your point, Eric Schnander designs a defense to not give two craps from Sunday about what happens between the 20s, except for turnovers. That's all
fair.
He really cares about, right? And our offense is designed to do a lot between the 20s and hopefully have a home run hit here and there whenever. And we didn't have a lot of home runs last year. I don't think Frost understood how to design a freaking offense that could score from somewhere inside the 35-yard line.
I'm going to tell you something. I think our offense had plenty of big plays last year. Our problem was when we got in, or we had the big plays. We hit the home runs last year.
We just couldn't capitalize off of them officially. Like actually make it reflect 6 points on the board or even 3 points on the board a lot of the time.
The 3 points was the problem. The 3 points was the problem.
Yes. Now you're getting to special teams. That was the biggest problem.
I distinctly remember when we were inside of the red zone, it was like we couldn't get out of our own way.
Nope.
And statistically speaking, if we want to get into statistics, we had a way better chance of going 11-1 than we went 3-9.
Yes. And that's the reason why I have confidence. And
so that's why it's like our offense. I mean, our offense would have been even better if we were actually capitalizing on opportunities on special teams or just in the red zone.
But that's not. If you're getting to the red zone, you're not putting your defenses back against the wall.
Yeah, and I want to go back to something Justin said. I'm sorry, but like he made a comment about how we are fortunate that we start with weak offenses, and I think that's a very good reason why. Because we're going to get time to get confidence. We're going to get time to figure out our personnel. We have margin for error early in the year. With the exception of Oklahoma, who is that offense that scares you early in the year? Is it Noah Vedral coming? I mean, are we scared of Noah Vedral? I don't think so. Who the hell is
Vedral there, though?
I thought Noah Vedral was done. Is he really coming back?
He's coming back for another year. Yep,
he's coming back.
Good
he
God,
was hurt almost
40. Yeah, he's older than I am. He's 42, 43 years old.
Indiana, not great.
Nobody's older than you, dude.
Northwestern's offense has not been great for a while. I think we've got opportunities to get some momentum early in the year. And I think you're playing with a little bit more confidence. I'm really high on this defense. And again, maybe Garrett Nelson isn't going to be a double-digit sacks guy. And Scott, you made a comment. If all of our transfers we brought in don't hit, then we're not going to be that good. Well, I agree with you. I 100% agree with that stance. If Tommy Hill sucks and Kane Williams doesn't do anything and none of these defensive linemen do anything, then we're probably going to not be very good. I agree with that. I see us building a team like Michigan State did last year with a lot of transfers. I'm not saying we're going to be quite Michigan State. I'm just saying when you're going to be a top 10 transfer portal team, I think that means something. I don't know what it means. I think it means something.
Could very well mean something. Hopefully UCLA is going to use that as well.
3 wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Hopefully, this team doesn't completely shit the bed this year, like Justin shit his pants earlier.
It was mostly dry, Ken.
Okay, well, it didn't sound that way. I think we
Mostly.
completely finished this one. So next, damn it. You know what? This isn't our shortest one now. It's almost
We got in the
second
weeds
longest,
a little bit
but
there.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. And if Justin didn't have the
Explosive
incident
diarrhea.
earlier, we
Look,
would have been done 10
You guys
15
could have
minutes ago.
continued the show while I wiped my ass, okay? I mean, you guys could have done that, but you chose to wait.
It was too much fun. We couldn't quit laughing. It was just like 7th grade all over again.
You'll have to watch the YouTube highlight because
Yeah.
we kind of paused for a second because we were like, did
What-
that really just happen?
Was that what we did? You guys hear that? Well, yeah. How couldn't you?
I do think it's gonna be funny when this becomes like a national meme, like that random guy shits himself on a podcast. It's just gonna be that 20-second clip.
How would you?
Hey,
we
if-
have
if
to
it-
do a quick stitch of that, and it definitely
God,
has
yeah.
to be.
It will
on
be
the
it will
YouTube
be,
Shorts.
It will
if
be.
it-
YouTube Shorts.
Will be a YouTube.
If it makes
short.
both
it
our
on
podcasts
TikTok.
go viral, if it makes both our podcasts go viral, it was well worth it.
I don't know
Thank
how
you
guys
for your
heard that.
ass, Justin.
I didn't turn my mic
Oh
down.
gosh. You know what? I can only imagine how much fun we're going to have next month when we start to get offensive, when we pick the offensive players. So that's what we're planning to do. Are you guys good with second Sunday in June? Hell, I think that's the 12th or something like that.
Well, let's
I
talk
will
about
be
this
floating
offline.
the river that weekend.
Okay.
Our viewers don't need to listen to us discuss the next time.
Next time because we had them all planned out up until last week when Tyler decided to change our plans. So yeah,
Sorry.
the reason Justin damn near shit himself is because he held it since last week. So couldn't help it. Sorry, Justin. I just couldn't help it. So yeah, sometime in June we will do our next roundtable. We're going to pick our offensive starters. We don't know who the guest is going to be yet. I have some feelers out there, so to speak. We're hoping to get another podcast on here, which would be really cool. Guys, I know I put the banner up on the screen a couple of times. Where can the folks find you guys at the Cuz Cast?
At Husker Cuz Cast on Twitter. We're out there. I think it's the same thing for Facebook. We're on Facebook.
Mhm.
Connect and follow. Interact with us.
And anywhere you find your podcasts, you can find the Husker Cuz Cast. You can find us at genredpod.com, where you can listen to our show. You can download the show. You can subscribe to the show right there on our website, as well as follow us on our social media outlets right there on the links on our genredpod.com. So thanks so much for watching, listening. We really appreciate it. And on behalf of Justin, Derrick, and Tyler, and Scott and I, thanks so much. Iowa's corn really sucks, and there is absolutely no place like Nebraska. Right, boys?
Go Big Red.
Go Big
Go Big Red.
Red.
Go Big Red.